Today I want you to travel 100 years into the past with me. We were a population of only 2 billion people. Not even a third of what we are today. The world had just suffered a war to which we lost 40 million lives. And then we had the Spanish flu pandemic, to which we lost another 50 million lives. What did we lose those lives to? Power? Land? Money? On average, people back then only lived for about 47 years. Less than 10% of the population enrolled into schools. Survival was the epitome of human life. But even then, we craved for something more, something that would surpass our human mind's imagination. And so we developed technology, gadgets, devices, airplanes. And since then, the population has quadrupled. Life expectancy today sits at 77 years. We enjoy a sense of pride in our evolution, from chalkboards to smartboards to whiteboards on Zoom. We could have never imagined that telephones would be wireless pocket devices with instant global communication. That we would have electric cars, smart televisions, virtual desktops. Now, have you ever imagined a world 100 years into the future? We could be living with robots who do all the work for us, earning for us, serving you cookies while you play golf. Or you could be choosing between the moon and Mars as your next holiday destination. People driving cars in the 22nd century would be the equivalent to those with an iPhone 5S today. Please tell me no one has one. But the only thing that's remained constant in all of those years is that we lived for happiness. We lived to be happy back then, we live to be happy today, and we will always live to be happy. But what is happiness? It's a reaction to various biochemical substances in the brain. If you like, it's the absence of negative emotions in your body. But today I want you to focus on how you're feeling. Are you agitated? Are you stressed? Are you happy? Are you upset about something? Because even though on your external front you appear to me as completely conscious, your eyes are open, you're breathing, you're alive, I hope. Your internal front may not be as conscious. And with all the limitless change that has gone on around us in the world, keeping our internal body at peace has become challenging. Who we are and what we look like at face value has distanced so much from who we are internally that living consciously has become challenging. At the start of 2020, I moved to Adelaide to study health and medical sciences. Born into a family of doctors, the preferred career choice for me was to study medicine. And the common selling points to me were financial security, it's a familiar pathway, my family knows the profession inside out, you'll be fine. I wanted to be an actor, study international business, apply for a beauty pageant. Anyhow, I came to Adelaide thinking I'll transfer into medicine after a year of doing health and med. But 3 weeks in, when the lockdown happened and I got to go home, I had some time to think and reflect. And in those moments, I realized that if I didn't do what I had set out for myself, I would be creating regrets for myself to mull over for the rest of my life. You know, I've always been told that I do the exact opposite of what I've been told to do. But in reality, all I did, what I believed I did, was take charge of my life. Take a step back and take a distant, neutral perspective on who you are and where you want to go. I followed what I felt in that moment and not some superficial idea of earning thousands of dollars 15 years after pursuing medicine. But I had to prove myself. So I came back to Adelaide, started volunteering, socializing, networking. I applied for that beauty pageant. And all of a sudden, I had a job to go to. I had a cause that I support. Friends that I call family. They're sitting in the audience. And I won the pageant. Point is that you and I, we have the power to change what the next 100 years look like. We can do so much more than just survive. It's because we have the freedom, the luxury, and the time to plan and act consciously. Consciousness is our ability to be in this present moment, giving it our complete 100% attention. It can be defined as a heightened level of awareness, which is the ability to keep our mind under control, even in adverse situations. For several years, it's been in the nature of our human race to crave for more. We're momentarily satisfied by materialistic comforts. It's an external stimulus that fires up the chemistry in our brains and makes us happy momentarily. But as soon as that spark disappears, we feel deprived again. And if only we can balance our internal body chemistry, even in the absence of external stimuli, then that to me is true joy, because the secret of that balance is conscious living, the evolution of our inner dimension. When times get tough, we often choose to live in a bubble of mum, dad, family, friends, possibly latch onto alcohol or partying to escape. For years and years, we've been preconditioned to think of life as a cycle. You go to school, university, get a job, marriage, kids, retirement, death. And the repetition and reinforcement of this idea on us for centuries has curbed consciousness. You tell me, if you've been deprived of food for 2 days and then been asked to come in here and listen to me talk about conscious living, would I have your full attention? Probably not. You'd want food. Because hunger overrides your conscious line of thought. Similarly, with our human lives, when we're compulsively chasing money, intelligence, power, we forget to stop and realize that happiness probably lies in being in this moment that you have right here. Our human minds, they have innate powers of imagination and memory. And that's why our mind has the tendency to wander off. More often than not, how you're feeling in this waking moment is a representation of something that happened in the past or an imaginative figment of the future. And over time, this loss of presence starts to create a void in our life. We feel stressed, anxious, maybe depressed. Extreme emotions like hunger, anger, jealousy, even extreme happiness cloud our ability to see life in its purest form. For instance, have you ever been so hungry that you decided to skip your diet and eat the fattiest foods you could find? Or have you ever been so angry that you said things that you would never say in your right mind? And let me ask you in one word, how did you feel when you ate those fried chicken wings or yelled at the top of your lungs? Regret? We've concocted behaviors and patterns that we can't even explain, but we would do them anyway just to get through that one split second. We underestimate the ability of our human mind and body. Life was once about survival, but it doesn't have to be that way anymore. Our set ideas of people, culture, religions, they constantly influence the way we talk, react, and behave on a daily basis. But my question to you is, if we've created these boundaries, why can't we take them away? If only we could open up our mind and our hearts to the larger impact of life on this planet, your larger purpose of living. We could together change what the next 50 to 80 years look like for our future generations. Now you might be thinking, I feel conscious. I feel like I'm self-aware. Am I not? But the question is, how do we maximize this on a daily basis? So now I want you to think about these questions. If you had only 80 minutes left to live, what would you do? 80 minutes. Shopping, eat the food you really love, meet your family. But now if I gave you 80 years left to live, what would you do? What would you do differently? Is your mind now saying that 80 years, that's too long? That's a whole lifetime. I would live the way I'm supposed to live. And all of a sudden, 80 years takes away the urgency to live now, to be better now, and to be happier now. It relaxes all of those emotions. But are 80 years really that long? Some of us are 20, 30, 40. If life was limitless and if death didn't abruptly stop your journey, we would keep living the way we're always living and losing that value of the existence. Because the value of our existence lies in the fact that you and I, we're mortal. Sitting here today, how many of you are aware of what's around you? The empty chair next to you, your feet in your shoes, your stomach rumbling. Mine's rumbling. But how many of you are aware of what's inside of you? How many of you are aware of how many times your mind wandered off? I said something that probably triggered a memory, or an emotion, or put you somewhere else, or I lost you for a few minutes in the middle. Awareness of what's outside and around will help you survive. But awareness of what's inside of you will help you thrive through life. If you wake up 10 minutes earlier than you do, or sleep 10 minutes later than you do, take 10 minutes in the shower, doesn't matter where you take 10 minutes to yourself, just to ponder upon how you're feeling, what you want to get out of your day. What are you grateful for? It'll send to you. Talk to your loved ones. Create conversations about whether to keep that job or not. What do I do after this degree? Am I really enjoying what I'm doing at this point in time? These conversations are energy that over time translate into action that creates so much space for positivity in our lives. Ladies and gentlemen, we have lived for 100 years. We're living today. We've survived a pandemic. We're still surviving it. And we will live for the next 100 years. And limitless change, that will continue into the future. So far, we occupied our minds with the worries of survival. How do we survive? But now, it's time to take a leap of faith and explore the full human potential, who you really are. To be aware of your mind, body, and soul, and to be the driver of your life. The speed at which life is changing is getting faster and faster each year. 2020 looked so different to 2019, and 2 months into 2021, it already looks so different to what it was last year. And that's why we need some sort of balance. The power of balance is that it paves the way for creativity and innovation beyond our imagination. But the power to be able to do that puts an enormous responsibility on us, you and I, to leave this planet better than we found it. Our education systems, they've taught us English, maths, science, economics. But ways of living? They're only seen, repeated, and duplicated. Conscious living is just as important as English, maths, or science. It's the language of a happy and balanced mind. Change starts with every thought, every action, and every individual. So 100 years later, if someone comes here and talks about conscious living at TEDx, let them have a century of joy and togetherness to reflect back on. A world full of equality and equity where no color, gender, or money can separate two people. Where war and violence is replaced by conversation. Where global warming only becomes a chapter in our history textbooks. Where every woman of any size, color, or culture has an equal representation at the table and is heard. And then we can truly say that we lived life and we lived it consciously. Thank you.